Hello, Nevada County. I'm Mary Jane Hunegart, your friendly neighborhood political correspondent. There is a lot going on right now, and I'm here for it. There are also a few issues in the air. Ahem, a Idaho, Maryland mined draft environmental impact review. Ahem, organic waste bill. Ahem, unintelligible muttering because there's a lot more simmering. So I'm going to go practical today. Last month, I covered the candidates for the upcoming June 7th primary election. It's just around the corner, and there's an election teeming with fraud allegations still in our rearview mirrors. So I thought it was a good time frame to look at whether we as voters can trust that our vote will be counted in the primary and going forward. Voting by mail has become the most popular way to vote as a Californian and as a Nevada Countian. Mail-in voting was first implemented in the 1962 California general election, and 2.63% of voters took advantage of the opportunity, so not very many. But they had to have a good excuse, like a planned hospitalization or a business trip, and it was called absentee voting. In 1978, laws changed to allow any eligible voter to request an absentee ballot, excuse or no excuse. By that time, about 5% of California voters took advantage of the option. Fast forward to 2020. 86.72% of ballots cast for the November general election were mailed in. That number was 82.85% in Nevada County. Sometimes Nevada County's percentages have been lower over time, over the years, sometimes higher, but it trends to average about the same. And then on September 27th, 2021, so just a few months ago, Governor Newsom signed AB 37 into law, making California the 8th state, after Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Vermont, and Washington, to enact automatic mail-in voting in all future elections. So to make that clear, all of California's county election officials must automatically deliver mail-in ballots to all registered voters. 2022 mail-in voting percentages will be interesting to see in light of this change. But I should add that the 2021 law does not preclude voters from choosing instead to cast their ballots in person. A lot of people do this, and I bet will continue to do this. As a mom, taking my kids with me to vote has felt like a good way to show them democracy in action. Side note, voting centers appreciate volunteers. It's an amazing way to support the democratic process, so check into that. Back to mail-ins. Supporters of universal mail-in voting state that it allows more people to vote in the manner most convenient for them, reduces polling lines, and it decreases election administration burden and cost. Also, they state that requiring an excuse potentially disproportionately benefits those with high socioeconomic status. Opponents of mail-in voting suggest that in addition to more lost ballots and mistakes, there are greater opportunities for fraud and ballot box stuffing. They also point out that there's no evidence that mail-in voting itself results in a meaningful increase in voter turnout. Looking at the trend lines, this last point is true, as far as I can tell. Increases in mail-in voting percentages have not correlated meaningfully with an increase in voter turnout as a percentage of the California population. However, if you can out-actuary me there and say I'm wrong, very possible, the point about opportunities for fraud is still a huge one to address. Can we rely on a fair, non-fraudulent election outcome? So I turn to the Heritage Foundation, a well-known conservative think tank that has reported widely on voter fraud. They maintain an outstanding, detailed online database of election fraud cases in the United States for reference, and you can narrow cases by state, deposition year, case type, and fraud type. According to the Heritage Foundation's data, there have been 47 cases of vote fraud of all forms deposed in California since 2002, resulting in 42 criminal convictions. Of these, voter registration fraud and ballot petition fraud are the most common. 2 cases, and this is over 20 years, involved the fraudulent use of mail-in ballots. One case, deposed in 2012, involved an individual who took part in a local scheme down in Southern California. The other, deposed in 2021, also down in SoCal, involved an individual voting 3 times as his deceased mother, which he had done between 2012 and 2014. Since 2002, there have been over 213 million votes cast. 2 mail-in vote fraud cases in 213 million votes is almost 1,000 times less common than getting struck by lightning. But I should point out, that's only counting the fraud cases that have been reported. Elections officials are on the record as saying that fraud cases can be difficult to catch and prove. I mean, look at the guy who Norman Bates his mom for 3 elections. He wasn't caught until 6 years after the last time he did it. Okay, let's say 99% of fraud cases go unreported, making it actually 200 rather than 2 mail-in ballot fraud cases over 213 million votes cast in California over 20 years. Mail-in vote fraud would still be 10 times less common in California than getting struck by lightning. Sounds like voting by mail is a-okay. Go vote on June 7th and vote with confidence. Vote by mail or vote in person. Note that if you vote by mail, the 2021 law has extended the deadline of receipt to 7 days after Election Day. If you vote in person, one option is to bring your mailed ballot with you to your polling place on Election Day. If you don't, it's all good. A poll worker will provide you with a provisional ballot, which will be counted after a county elections official has confirmed you are registered to vote and did not vote more than once in the election. Please, in the name of clean democracy, don't do anything that would get you on the Heritage Foundation's voter fraud list, and don't do anything that would get you struck by lightning. For more details on the June 7th election, visit mynevadacounty.com and select Elections under the Departments category. And if you have any feedback on this piece, please email me at ncnpolitics@gmail.com. Remember my invitation to prove me wrong about the non-correlation between mail-in vote percentages and election turnout. It has been my privilege to bring you a brief piece on a local political issue. Remember, when it comes to politics, if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. Thanks for staying informed, Nevada County.